Most people think the Delaware River separates New Jersey and the first state. Well, that's not entirely true. Actually, the two states share a land border that's almost 2 miles long in Pennsville, New Jersey.
That is all Delaware. It keeps getting taller and taller every time they dredge, but that's one of the places that you could go to. You could walk to Delaware without getting your feet wet.
If you've ever been to Finns Point National Cemetery at Fort Mott State Park, you've been just steps away from the state of Delaware. Historian Andy Grant explains to park visitors how this weird patch of land came to be.
One of the biggest questions we always get, there's a place you could walk to Delaware without getting your feet wet, right? We have to say, yeah, of course there is. It goes back to the very colonial time period. When the Dutch left the area, they needed somebody to be in control of it. So the Duke of York, who later became the king, ceded the land to William Penn and eventually became the state of Delaware. If you look at the map, you'll see that Delaware has this rounded top to it. And that center of that circle is Old Newcastle. And with no state could come within that boundary meant that the boundary came all the way over across the river to New Jersey. And it came all the way over to the low tide mark. So if you're standing in the water at low tide, your feet are wet, you're technically in Delaware.
The Garden State has fought for ownership of the land 3 times. Each dispute was handled by the Supreme Court, and each time, New Jersey lost.
It actually got to almost a war of the fishermen against the state of Delaware. Fishermen from New Jersey were going out there fishing, and Delaware's like, no, this isn't for you unless you pay our $20 fee. Back in the 1870s, a $20 fee wasn't, small change. Every time they've gone back to the original charter with the Duke of York to William Penn saying that this is the way that it is, and that's the way it is, still today. In the time since the 1930s, they've built what originally was called the Kilcook Wildlife Refuge. It later became the Kilcook Dredge Disposal Area. So every time they dredge the river, all that silt has to go somewhere. Well, that somewhere has become this area that used to be the river is now dry land. And it's just one of those weird little quirky things that we have down here that so many people are interested in. It's like one of our number one questions is like, hey, am I in Delaware or am I in New Jersey? And I can point out if you're over there, you're in Delaware.